Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Tuesday. Happy New Year's Eve. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, you guys are in for a video today. I've told you guys this before. I call this my confessional. I find it much easier to sit here alone in my own apartment in front of my camera and talk about some of the things that went on in my addiction. I'm going to tell you guys something this morning that I have never told another living soul. And there's a few reasons I'm going to talk about this. Number one, the main reason I'm talking about this is I think that a lot more people than is recognized are suffering from addiction across the United States. I think a lot more people, I'm going to have a link down below. And it's got the ranking of all 50 states and their use of cocaine in the last year. How many people have admitted to using in the last year over 18 years old? And Connecticut, a lot of New England states are way up there. Colorado, I won't tell you which one. Colorado's number one. Connecticut's number 8. And I think a lot more people than is recognized use these drugs. I think methamphetamine is popular throughout the whole United States now. I've talked about this in a video. I've been clean and sober since October 23rd of 2006. And as of then, when I got clean and sober, like I've been in and out of detoxes over 13 times. And there is no meth in Connecticut or this whole New England area. And I don't know why that is. I'm really starting to think it's a conspiracy theory about the people that import this drug and which part of the United States they own, because it's not here. If I look in the paper right now, there's no arrests. Google arrests in Connecticut for methamphetamine, and you'll find one in the last decade. There's no labs here. There's no meth here, but there's a ton of crack cocaine here. Crack is king in Connecticut. I'm going to talk about something that I used to do pretty much every single time I used every day. The reason I'm talking about this is, number one, when my views go down, I've noticed my views are up, my views are down, and I'm a lot more likely to talk about very personal things when I think less people are watching. I mean, there's a couple reasons for this. I think it'll attract more views, when I admit some weird stuff. And second is it's easier to admit stuff when I don't think that many people are watching. Another reason I'm talking about this is because I'm going to turn 59 next month. And like I've talked about this, I just really don't care anymore. I know who I am at this point. And I think it's important to talk about this. I think a lot more men especially know exactly what I'm talking about. The way that cocaine affects your sexuality. And this is something I used to do pretty much every time. And it's different. I've never told a living soul this. Another thing is, like I said, I'm turning 59. I don't have a significant other right now. I've had 2 serious girlfriends in the last 18 years since I've been clean and sober. And I'm at a point in my life now where I know who I am. The things I'm going to talk about stopped happening when I stopped using. So I realized that the stuff that I'm going to talk about isn't who I am. It's not like I tried to stop doing this stuff. It's not like I promised myself, I'm never going to dress up like a woman again. I'm never going to wear women's underwear again. It's not like I said that. It's just as soon as I stopped using drugs, the urge to do that went away. Yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about. I've never talked about this before. I'm looking at myself in the camera, and I can't believe I'm going to talk about this. And the reason I'm talking about this is hopefully it will help other people get clean and sober. Recovery is possible, so they understand what's happening. If you're still using right now, I want you to understand who you can be. There's a real you down underneath all that drug use, and you can get back to that person. That's the reason I'm doing this video. Okay, like I said, I used to wear women's underwear when I used crack cocaine. I started using coke when I was about 18 years old, and I started dealing it. And pretty soon I started smoking it. And I don't know why this is. When it affects, coke or crack affects the sexuality part, the sexual part of your brain, especially with guys. And I think this is a lot more prevalent than people imagine. A lot of the guys that I used to use with, when they used they would become hypersexual. Some of the guys I used with, big, tough, straight motorcycle guys, would start flirting or insinuating that, they wouldn't mind servicing their friends and stuff like that. I swear to God, it affects the sexuality, the part of your brain. I still remember. I remember when I was 3 or 4 years old, and I remember being in the bathroom, and I remember finding my mom's nightie in the hamper. It was red, and I was just amazed by it. I remember picking it up, and I looking back, I used to wonder if that was part of the reason why I did what I did. Once I started using crack cocaine, like I said, as soon as I let that first inhale out, all my priorities, the real me would just disappear, and I would become just hypersexual. Like as soon as I let that first hit out, it would just be like boom. And I remember spinning my car around, and this is what I used to do. This started, when I was the girls I used to go with back then used too. So when I was using with them, obviously this wouldn't happen. They didn't know anything about this. But when they weren't around, when I was using by myself, which was often because I used every day, I would go into their underwear drawer, and I would just start looking through their underwear, and I'd put their underwear on. And it was, looking back, like I said, since I've been clean and sober, since October 23rd of 2006, this hasn't been an issue for me. It's not something that I look back, and it's just so bizarre. I can't imagine why I would do that. Okay, so in my later years of addiction, like in my late 30s, I pretty much just used by myself. And what I would do is I would go pick up every day. At first, I would get the heroin that I needed to not get sick. And then I would go find some more money. I'd go lie, cheat, steal to get more money. And then I would use crack. It would be about noon. And as soon as I let that hit out, I'd be in my car. As soon as I get it, I'd find a spot to use. I'd bend down in the car so nobody could see me, get my can and hit it. And as soon as I let that breath out, I would just get hypersexualized. Like the first thing I would do would be go straight towards a adult bookstore. And that's what I used to do when I used. It just was this hypersexual person that I became, a different side of me. And I would stop on the way to the bookstore. I'd stop at like one of those 99-cent stores where they sell all sorts of stuff, like the Dollar Generals. And I'd go right to the women's underwear. And I'd just start looking through the women's underwear that I found attractive. And I'm thinking in my head that, I'm all high. My jaw's going back and forth. I'm sweating. And I'm standing there looking through women's underwear. I could imagine what people in the store thought of me. But I didn't care at that point. And I would find something that I thought, I guess, was sexy. And I was overweight back then. I weigh 90 pounds less now. I'm more muscular. Back then I had man boobs, and I actually I know this is bizarre. I would get like this a C cup that my man boobs would fit in, and I would get these. I would go to the register with a handful of women's underwear, bras and panties. And I remember I tried to mumble something about, I hope my girlfriend likes these. Like as if the cat, I don't know if the cashier believed me or not. Like I said, I was sitting there sweating, my jaw was going back and forth, and I was like, I hope my girlfriend likes these. I was a mess. And I would either put them on in my car, like find some deserted spot and dress in the car, or I would go to the adult bookstore and go in the back in the arcade with the glory holes and put this underwear on. I know, it's a bizarre picture. Like I said, the only reason I'm talking about this is because, like I said, as soon as I got clean and sober, stopping crack was one of the hardest things that I did. I went to the methadone clinic, and within 3 or 4 weeks of going to the methadone clinic, I realized that I didn't need heroin anymore. That it was actually working. My cravings for heroin disappeared. But in order to stay in the methadone clinic, I had to quit everything. I had to quit crack, which I was using more of once I stopped using heroin. And that was one of the hardest things. It took a good 6 or 7 months. And because I realized that the methadone was working, I wanted to stay in the program, so I made a really sincere effort to stop smoking crack. I actually would pray every morning. This is how I started praying. I still pray now. I've been praying every day for the last 18 years. And I started praying, just like, God, please give me the strength not to use crack cocaine today. Because it was hard for me at first. And I remember being triggered. I remember going, like I said, I think it was yesterday's video, I would go to shopping malls and stores to try to keep busy once I got clean. And, I would collect things. Like I said in yesterday's video, I would collect Matchbox. I collected a lot of different stuff because I had money now. And I was trying to focus my interest on, something else, like just collecting or somewhere for my money to go. And I remember walking by the underwear bin with the women's underwear, like the discount underwear all in a bin. And I remember just staring at it and getting a rush, like that urge, like I just got this wicked urge to go call my dealer and buy some of this underwear and go smoke it. And that continued probably for maybe almost for the first year. Now I can honestly say, like I went shopping for Christmas just last month. And I was in the stores and I was cutting from one side of the store to the other in one of these big box stores like Walmart. And I actually went through the women's underwear just cutting through the store. Like I said, I didn't purposely walk through. And as I was going through, I saw the underwear hanging there. And the first thing I thought of was my ex-girlfriend and how she would look pretty in it. And then all of a sudden I remembered what I used to do. Like I said, this was over 18 years ago. And I have not done this once since then, not because I tried to stop it, just because it no longer became an urge. That wasn't who I was. I don't know if it was a psychological thing from when I was abused as a teenager, or if it was some kind of thing trying to create like a woman out of myself. Like I made myself my own girlfriend. I would use alone. I'd use drugs alone, and then I get hypersexual. I get very sexualized, and I don't know if I just turned myself into my own girlfriend. I know it sounds weird, but a lot of guys do that. A lot of guys do this. I know methamphetamine. I've read a lot of stories about guys on methamphetamine dressing up as women. You probably see this on cops. Guys getting pulled over, dressed up and high. And I used to do that. But here's the good news. Here's the good part of this. Like I said, once I got clean and sober, that wasn't who I was. That's why I don't mind talking about this now. I still kind of think, well, what if I get a girlfriend in the next year and she watches my YouTube videos and she sees me sitting here today talking about wearing women's underwear back 19 years ago. And like I said, I just don't care anymore. I'm proud of who I am now. I know who I am now. This is the real me. And I like who I am now. I know this is the real Daryl. And the person I was then, that was, a drug-induced state. These were things I was doing that was out of character for me. Things that I wasn't, that was because of using the drugs. And recovery is possible, like I said. And in the last 18 years, I'm basically a normal heterosexual. I don't. It's not like I'm trying to be heterosexual or anything. It's the real me. But after I stopped using, the urge to do this stuff stopped. So yeah, I used to smoke crack and put on women's underwear every day, pretty much. And I've been clean and sober since October 23rd of 2006, and it stopped. And thank God. And it's not who I really was. It was a drug-induced state. The drugs were affecting my brain in a manner that made me want to do things out of character. That drove me to do things out of character. And that scares me even more. It makes me want to stay clean even more. Recovery is possible. I'll be back later. I'm going to do a couple of videos today. You guys, I'll see you before New Year's Eve. Have a good one.